Ready for a deep dive that takes being good to a whole other level.
We're talking about a philosophy that even makes the Buddha's path seem, well, a little bit moderate.
This is Jainism. And to understand just how intensely devoted its followers are, we got to start with its founder, Mahavira.
Born in ancient India, same time, same region as the Buddha, actually.
Talk about a parallel universe, right?
Exactly. And like the Buddha, Mahavira also ditched a life of luxury to seek enlightenment.
But here's where the paths diverge. Mahavira's idea of nonviolence was so extreme, it's almost, I don't know, unbelievable.
He believed in something called ahimsa so deeply that he gave up clothes, possessions, everything.
Well, hold up, no clothes, even in the Indian heat.
Even then, there are stories of insects literally feasting on him, and he wouldn't harm a single one.
Okay, that's some next-level commitment. But why? What's the thought process there?
It all comes down to the soul, or jiva, as they call it, in Jainism. See, Jains believe that everything has a soul. Humans, animals, even tiny insects.
So harming any living thing is like a major no-no.
Major. Every action, every thought even, creates this karmic residue that binds the soul to the cycle of rebirth. The goal is to escape that cycle completely, to achieve moksha.
And that's where ahimsa comes in.
Exactly. Minimizing harm to every living being, that's the key.
Makes you think twice about that spider in the corner, doesn't it?
It definitely gives a whole new meaning to peaceful coexistence.
No kidding. But here's a real head-scratcher. If Jains were so against harming anything, how did they end up thriving in, of all things, trade and finance?
It's a fascinating paradox, isn't it? But it makes sense when you think about it. Ahimsa pretty much ruled out agriculture for them. Hurting the earth was a big no-no.
So they had to find other ways to make a living.
Exactly. And trade, especially the long-distance kind, offered a way to generate wealth without directly harming living beings.
So this deep-rooted belief in nonviolence actually shaped their entire economic system.
In a way, you could say that. It's a powerful example of how a philosophy can impact a community on such a large scale.
So no shady business deals then?
Yes.
Like everything had to be by the book?
You got it. Honesty, fairness, transparency, those are non-negotiable for Jains in business.
Huh. Imagine that. Ethics in business.
Yeah.
But I mean, it wasn't like they weren't making money, right?
Oh, they definitely thrived. But there's this other concept, aparigraha. It's about not being attached to material possessions.
So like not hoarding wealth.
More like using it wisely. Philanthropy is a huge part of Jain culture. They've historically funded libraries, hospitals, you name it, all aimed at helping others.
So it's like this ripple effect. Nonviolence influences their work ethic, which then impacts their whole approach to social responsibility.
Exactly. And what's even more fascinating is how this relatively small community's philosophy ended up influencing one of the biggest figures of the 20th century.
Okay, now I gotta know. Who are we talking about here?
Think about Gandhi. His whole philosophy of nonviolent resistance was deeply influenced by Jain principles.
Wow, Gandhi. No way. That's not a connection you hear every day. How did that even happen?
Well, Gandhi was actually quite close with a Jain scholar named Srimad Rajchandra, considered him a spiritual mentor even. Rajchandra's teachings on ahimsa, the whole idea of soul force over physical force, really resonated with Gandhi.
So all those late-night philosophical debates weren't just about politics, but about deeply spiritual stuff, too.
Absolutely. Gandhi's idea of satyagraha, or truth force, it's rooted in those very principles. It's amazing to see how a philosophy, even from a smaller group, can have such a massive impact on the world, you know?
It's mind-blowing how those ancient ideas of nonviolence, of spiritual liberation, had such a huge impact on history.
Right. It just shows you how powerful these principles really are. They go way beyond a specific time or place.
It does make you wonder, though.
It does, doesn't it? Like, how would a philosophy as dedicated to nonviolence as Jainism, how would it approach our modern world?
Especially with all the craziness, right? The constant rush, being plugged in 2047, not to mention all the negativity everywhere you look.
And remember, for Jains, ahimsa, it's not just about what you do. It's about what you think, what you say, even your intentions.
So that little burst of raid rage I had this morning?
Yeah.
Probably not earning me any good karma points then.
Well, let's just say it makes you think twice, right? Especially now, in the digital age. One tweet, one angry post, that negativity can spread like wildfire.
Can you imagine what Mahavira would think of social media? A guy who wouldn't even hurt an insect.
It's kind of like our digital footprint is an extension of our karmic footprint, isn't it?
Whoa. Never thought of it like that.
It makes you think, how do we practice ahimsa in this day and age? With so much information overload, How do we have a conversation without causing harm?
Yeah, how do we stay mindful in a world that's all about instant reactions?
It's tough, that's for sure. And there might not be any easy answers.
Maybe it's not about being perfectly nonviolent, but about constantly trying to be better.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that every little thing we do, say, or think has an impact.
Trying to be a little more compassionate, a little more mindful in everything we do.
Well said. And, who knows, maybe by taking inspiration from this ancient wisdom, we can start to shift things for the better, even in our modern world. One thought, one word, one action at a time.
It's certainly given me a lot to think about. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive into Jainism.
It's been quite a journey.
To all our listeners, we hope this sparked your curiosity. Until next time, thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.